Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Page of Swords podcast. This is episode 14 with Alexis Sullivan. Did I say your last name right?
Sullivan?
Yep, Sullivan.
Yeah.
Perfect. And she is an IFBB Pro, and you compete in figure and physique, correct?
Well, now physique. I'm hanging up the heels.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, you just recently did Chicago, so that was a really good presentation. I saw the routine, really cool.
Thank you.
Suit. So yeah, how did you get started in all of this?
I was not about the gym when I was younger, like at all. My husband, Jimmy, he's always been a fan of bodybuilding. And it was really after college where we'd moved into an apartment, and then there was like this little gym, the Lion's Den, which was run by an ex-IFBB Pro, whatnot. And so we started training there. They had really great Atlantis equipment, like just really, really great selection of equipment. And the owner had said sort of in passing, like, hey, had you ever thought about competing? And I was like, nah, that's not for me. But he's like, no, let me prep you, let me coach you for a show. So I was like, whatever, because I really didn't even know what that even meant. So the first competition I ever did was an INBF show, which is the natural division. Yeah, I competed in the INBF and WNBF for 2.5 years before moving to the NPC.
Okay.
So I started there with my first show, and it was, your super no carbs, tilapia, asparagus. And I thought it was like the most amazing thing in the whole wide world. I thought it was so cool because through nutrition and training, all of a sudden my body was changing. And I'm an all or nothing type of person. So I was like all in. So once my husband saw that, and I went through my first show, I had a wonderful experience. My husband's like, all right, we're going to do this together. Like, I'm going to coach you, and we're going to take this forward. So I continued to compete in the INBF and WNBF for, like I said, until 2015.
Okay.
I competed in the WNBF Worlds. I came in second.
Okay.
And then in that point, I really felt as though I'd kind of exhausted my time in that organization. It's a wonderful organization. I have nothing but positive memories and experiences from that. I met one of my bridesmaids in the WNBF, and we're still friends today. So, a lot of those friendships I made, I still have now, and we're still friends and we talk. So, but, I just kind of wanted a larger organization, and a lot of my friends competed in the NPC. So in 2016, I kind of was like, all right, let's do this. So my first show was October of 2016. And from then I was like full throttle. I did 5 shows in 8 months. And then come September of 2017, I won my pro card at North Americans. So that's how that happened.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm on the NPC website, and I do see that it has up here that it was the New England Championships. That was your first show?
Yes.
Let's see here. I'm just sharing my screen.
It was the Boston. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is your first NPC show. I mean, you definitely had the conditioning.
Yeah, sure. We can call it that. But yeah, that was the Boston show. I had such a good time at that show. Like, that was just such a well-run show. And for it being my intro into the NPC, it really, gave me a really good vibe, and I had such a good experience. So it, and then I did the East Coast. I don't even remember what shows I did. I'm so horrible.
It's okay. No, there's so many like long names and everything, but that's cool. So you did a figure show, and then the next show you did a crossover.
I did figure and physique, yeah, because I was like, yeah, why not? Let me just do that. So I did it there, and then I did physique when I competed at Team U, and then that was the last time I ever did physique on the stage until, like last week or whatever.
Really? You took that long of a break?
Well, not doing physique. I mean, obviously I competed in figure.
Physique. Yeah.
But I, because I won my pro card in figure, and, you're moving into the IFBB, and it can be a little intimidating thinking about doing physique as an IFBB Pro. But really, I'm so glad I did, because I feel so comfortable doing physique, and that's where I belong. And that's where awesome. That's really where I can showcase my my physique and my lines and everything kind of pops out. Doing quarter turns just doesn't do me justice. And, you know, a lot of the attributes that I have aren't highlighted in figure, therefore they're not really rewarded. So I really feel like physique is definitely my home. And I felt so happy, so comfortable. Like, I was legitimately sad when Steve was like, okay, ladies, like, we're done with you. I'm like, wait a minute, we're not doing more rounds and mandatories. We're done here. So, I mean, I just had a really good, you know, it's weird. You know, I liked figure. Figure was great. I met a lot of, you know, wonderful people doing figure. And it's just like, I don't know. I just feel more comfortable doing physique. It just comes more naturally to me. Like, the posing just comes so much more naturally. I'm more fluid. My transitions are easier. And I'm like calmer. I don't know. I'm really glad that I finally made the jump.
It sounds like you like to entertain. Like, do you like that stage?
I did theater like growing up. So like,
Okay.
I'm a very like outgoing person. Yeah.
And I mean, what about routines? Like, do you feel like, is it easy for you to pick music, and like, do you work with someone for your routine?
So my husband's really, really good at posing. You know, my husband and I, he's the coach, and, you know, we've been working together, like I said, since the beginning. This year I started working with Jamie Pinder. I took her on as an advisor for prep, where, you know, Jimmy and I will come up with like the plans, the nutrition, all that stuff. And she was basically like a sounding board, you know, and having like another woman who understands, and someone who's as reputable as her. She's been on the Olympia stage. She's just a good person. Like, Jamie, just such a good, genuine person who cares. So we really trusted her, because it was the first time we actually asked someone to work with us. So, you know, obviously her being a physique Olympian, she obviously helped me as well with, you know, making like the posing, like adjustments and things like that are needed. So
How's it feel being on stage without the heels? Like, to me,
awesome.
I've only done figures, so I'm like,
oh, it's so much better.
Is it really?
I can pose easier without the heels. I can't,
Okay.
It's hard for me to pose in those heels, man.
Yeah.
It's much better with no heels.
And I like that you're able to use the same suit for figure and physique. So, I mean, you've had a couple suits here, but it looks like that you've been able to kind of like use it for the same show. It's not like you have to like get two different bikinis or anything.
No, and the suit maker who I had do this suit for the 2020 season, she's like phenomenal, and I'm definitely going to be using her going forward. It's like Suits by Me on Instagram if anyone's interested, but Maritza's wonderful. She's amazing. She's so easy to work with. She's so thorough. She really she's very creative and imaginative, and like her cuts of the suit, I mean, they just fit me perfectly. So I was really happy with that.
I don't know how many suits you've had from the pictures that I saw, but is there
only a couple? I'm not like big on switching a lot of suits because it's expensive.
Oh, so, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Like, is there a certain color that you find works best for you? Because the purple and red you had for Chicago really popped with the background.
Right? I was always kind of shying away from the red and pink because I have reddish hair, and I'm like, it's going to look weird. But she hit the nail on the head, because I told her I wanted to look like a sunset, and it looked awesome. So I'm trying to venture into more colors than just like the purple, green, and blue.
Yeah, and you've already done 3 shows this year. So how was your experience with the 2020 season?
This was like one of the best seasons for me, actually, to be completely honest.
Yeah, you're definitely, you got 12th at Savannah, you got 10th at New York, and like, that's good, because from what I've been seeing, the figure classes have been huge.
Yeah, Savannah, I think there were 38 girls.
Yeah.
New York, there was, I think, was there more than 30? There maybe was like, I don't know, 30 something. And then even when I did physique, this was the largest physique show. There were 30 physique women. So to come in 8th in my first, you know, physique debut on such a huge stage was really, I was so happy. Like, I just felt like it was such an accomplishment.
You're probably glad you weren't in the figure class, because that was almost like 50.
Yo, I saw that lineup. I was like, I am so sorry, guys. I am so sorry. I'm like, I'm so glad I'm not doing that.
The list of 16th place, I feel so bad, because you guys are all amazing pros, and just to know that you guys all brought your best, you know.
And it's hard, you know, like, and the judges have just as difficult time, you know, they're trying their very best to be as, you know, they want to be as honest and as, fair to everybody. And, bikini girls, it's like, I'm seeing the figure classes get bigger and bigger and bigger, but really coming from bikini, anyone who's in bikini, it's like they want to be like, whatever, girl, like I've been dealing with this since day one, because those bikini classes are insane.
They have to
They're
be
huge.
like, they get to the point where they all look the same, and then they're judging it down to a beauty pageant, which I feel like comes with the territory of that division.
Well, you also have to remember that judging is, people are human, and judging is subjective, and people naturally are going to gravitate to whom people they know, people they recognize, faces they recognize. So I don't think anyone's trying to be unfair, or, it's human nature comes part of the judging, and you just have to like respect that and understand that. And every judge is different. What one judge really likes, the other judge may not. So like any day can be your day, and it also depends on who shows up.
Yeah.
Like, they have to judge what's in front of them at that exact moment. So it's it's a difficult job that they have. Like, I do not envy them, having to select that. And I mean, if you look at the groupings of like, your top fives and then like 5 to 10, I mean, I think they do a great job. Like you look at the overall and you're like, yeah, they got it right. So, I never, question the judging, or, you just gotta appreciate that. Listen, if you didn't win, you didn't win for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like, like you didn't win because you didn't win. If you should have been number one, you would have been number one, but you weren't. So just gotta like keep working and just keep moving forward,
Yeah, and you were right. It's about who shows up. And like when you see the lineup and all the girls doing the comparison and everything, like I've noticed that the girl that they pick that wins, it's just dramatic. Like you're like, usually it's like spot on. You're like, either she had like the craziest depth in her legs, or like the widest back when they were all facing from behind. And yeah, judges, they see stuff a little different being there in person and everything.
Absolutely.
For the most part, the comparison, it's usually really dramatic, and that goes for like any show.
And you got to remember who's winning in the Olympia. So if you're talking about judging, maybe you might be like, well, I don't understand. It's like, well, go look at the Olympia. Who are the top 10 in the Olympia? Because they're like the creme de la creme. So, if you're filtering down to the other shows, then it kind of makes more sense, So you also have to think about it that way as well.
That's a dramatic shape. Like the girls at the Olympia and everything, it's
crazy, like crazy. And their waists are like,
I know.
I'm like, stop it. I don't even know how you do that.
Right,
like,
right. And then there's
I don't have a 22-inch waist. Like, it's just not going to happen. Not in the cards for me. Do you know what I mean? Like,
right.
So it's all right.
And I get that, because I mean, have you done any like sort of like waist training or vacuum?
I wear a belt. When I train, to engage my obliques. But really, I found like the most effective thing to bring in my waist is doing vacuums.
Yeah. Do you like practice those in the morning or something?
Yep. Do them after cardio on an empty stomach. And, you can do like 5 sets of 10 or 10 sets of 10. I like to set a timer on my phone for 7 minutes while the coffee's brewing. And then that's when I do it. I mean, it doesn't take very long, but it's the consistency and repetition that 100% it brought my waist in this year. And it just keeps it in, so that you don't have to think about like sucking it in. It's just in. So I mean, to anybody who's listening, absolutely do your vacuums. Do them. They work.
I agree, because the tiny waist wins every time, even for men. I mean, I look at it's about a pretty physique, and
absolutely
that tiny waist, it just looks nicer.
And it makes everything else look bigger.
Right. Yeah. Even if you, like me, like I'm trying to work on my shoulders, I don't think they're anything impressive, but at the same time, like, that's why I'm like, that waist has got to stay tight.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
You don't want that thing hanging out when you're doing your transitions.
And I've learned that from Sid Gillen. She taught me that, just like, even she was like, they're always watching. She's like,
always. Yep. Absolutely.
Breathing control has helped tremendously. Like, even
I found that actually, because people ask me about like with doing the vacuums and such, and I found that researching on YouTube yoga breathing techniques has been the most educational in terms of trying to learn the different breathing techniques. Like fitness, there really isn't anything, but the yoga community, they've got like tons of videos on it that I found were like super, super helpful. So whenever people ask me, that's where I send them. I'm like, YouTube, yoga, breathing techniques, go.
I agree. I've done the meditation breathing before, and it's hard, because I don't know if it's because my mind's always racing, where I'm just like, all right, let's chill. It's hard.
Yeah. I've never tried it, but probably because I'm the same thing.
Yeah.
Well,
I think
yeah.
we're all like that. We're all like, we got to go. We got something to do. We got a full agenda.
Uh-huh.
Now, you were saying about your cardio. What kind of cardio are you doing? Because I feel like everybody's different, and I don't know. Like, what is yours like?
I like the super high incline walking.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, I'm fortunate enough where we were able, because this whole COVID thing, I was like, I'm not even going to try to attempt to do cardio in the gyms because that was always, it would have been a disaster. So I was fortunate enough where we were able to purchase like a brand new Nordic track, like that 40% high incline. And that's my jam. I love the high incline. It's like, speed like maybe 2.0 and then just jack that thing up on the incline to like 20, 30, 40%.
All that fast. So that's pretty
Yeah.
good. And
Yeah,
then,
no, I don't, because I get shin splints, so I can't with the pounding.
Mhm.
So the slow walking, but the high incline, it just works for me.
Did that like happen to help your glutes or anything?
I
Like,
think it does, yeah.
yeah.
It helps with the glutes, it helps with the calves,
Yeah.
and because you're changing on such like a wide scale with the incline, it hits all those different parts of the leg.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, it just works for me.
Mhm. Yeah. That's good. How long are you usually doing that for?
I mean, you know how it is, like when you build it up towards a show. So
Build
I
it
want
up.
to say for the last like 5 weeks going into the show, I was probably doing 2 hours a day.
Okay. Yeah. And I know that usually comes with the territory to really
It
like break.
does. I mean, we're women. To get rid of that last
Yeah.
bit of fat, I mean, you have to force it off because it's just the body's not going to want to get rid of it. It is
Right.
what it is.
And I mean, you've been doing this a long time and you know that all the work's done. So by that point, it is going to be more cardio than anything. You've already
It is. And it's just like part of the game. You know what I mean? It just is.
you just suck it up and keep on going.
Just watch my baking shows and get on the treadmill.
And that's interesting too, because I feel like everybody does something different with like watching TV or listening to music where they just have to find like a podcast or a YouTube
It's
thing.
boring.
Yeah.
Like when you're doing that much cardio every single day, it's freaking boring. Like
Sure.
you're on there for 2 hours every day staring at a wall. It's boring. So like I try to find a good Netflix show. I do a lot of emails. I'll do emailing and stuff, but like, it's
Anything to distract yourself.
yeah, like it's freaking boring, man. Whatever, but you get it done. You just do it.
It's prep things.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's see here. You said that your husband got you into all this. Did you say, I don't know if you said or not, does he compete?
He does compete. He hasn't competed in a while because he's a very demanding job.
Okay.
But he does bodybuilding. But would he like to compete next year? Yeah. Is he going to? I mean, he's a very high level executive at his job. So he's got, he manages his department and he deals with like things overseas. So for him to like take time away, you only have so much bandwidth during the day, and prep basically consumes all of that. So if in his position right now at this point in time, I don't foresee him doing a show anytime soon.
Understand. Are you doing anything during the day job wise or anything like that?
Oh, right now?
Mhm.
Oh, I'm furloughed. I normally work for a boxing promotional company.
Okay.
So normally I'm like traveling all over, doing all the shows, not so much. So last year I'd gotten my personal training certificate. So I've been doing personal training, online coaching, that sort of thing, to make money since I'm not with the job.
Yeah, I was wondering that with COVID and everything too, because I mean it's different per job. I know even with personal trainers, like it's great that there's like online, but I know for a while there was a lot of people. Like I had a friend that I actually did a podcast with yesterday, and she does Orange Theory Fitness and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and like Orange Theory is just like always group classes, so that can be really hard and everything. So I'm glad that you at least had that, and that.
Yeah, I was very fortunate. New Jersey fairly early on allowed personal trainers access to gyms. So, I train out of like small independently owned gyms. So it was great because I would get a key and it was just like, you could just schedule, you know, your clients as you needed and you could just like come and go. So there was nobody in there,
Mhm.
you know, so it was a really comfortable setting, not only for me, but for the client because there was no one else in the facility. So it was nice.
Now, being out in New Jersey, have you been out? I'm assuming you've been to Bev's gym.
I
Down
can't remember.
there?
Last time I was at Bev's was a while ago. Cause driving out to like Long Island is just like
Oh, I'm sure.
traffic. It's the traffic. Yeah. Like
Because
I
I've
would go
been
more often, but it's just like, I don't want to sit in traffic for like 10 hours. So
yeah, and I mean, I've only been through Jersey a couple times, but I mean, the driving there was a little rough.
you know, I don't think it's that bad. I think the worst traffic I've experienced is in LA and outside Chicago. Those were
Oh
the
my
two
God,
places.
LA?
Yeah, LA and outside Chicago. But I really don't think it's like too bad here. I don't
Yeah,
know, maybe I'm just used to it. I don't know.
but that's true. Well, then you come to Pittsburgh and then there's like all the bridges.
Nothing. Yeah, there's just nothing.
Hurry up and get in the left lane on a bridge and try not to like run into anybody. So I also wanted to go back to shows because I was really curious, like which has been your favorite show or best experience?
That's really hard because each show is a little bit different,
Yeah.
you know, and they all have their like, I don't know, like they're all cool in their own way.
Mhm.
Um, I've really had a good experience 2020. I'd never done a Wings of Strength show prior to this year, and all three shows that I did this year were Wings of Strength, and I was, you know, they have a very high reputation, and now I understand why. I really had a great experience at those shows. Garner does a great job with the staff. They really make you feel important. They give you the swag. The facilities are clean. Everything's run to schedule, which is like really, really nice. And I also really like the Toronto Pro. I feel like
You've done that twice?
I've done that twice,
Okay.
yeah. And that's like I call it like the Arnold of Canada because it's
Yeah.
just, you know, the huge expo. It's over a couple days and it's just really well run and it's just a lot of fun, a lot of high energy.
Mhm.
So, you know, but really like every show is awesome. You know, like I don't know, like I like them all.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there was one in particular, anything that you just felt like this is my favorite, just like have you
Well,
like
probably Toronto Pro when I won, so that would probably be it. Yeah. And the Olympia, you know, because it's the
oh, yeah.
Olympia. So
Well, how was that? I mean, what's that feeling like that like you only experienced that first time on stage once for the Olympia, so like
it's,
what's that
you
like?
don't, for me, it didn't hit me until like I got home because it's like you're there, it's a whirlwind of craziness. Like the whole week, you're like, oh my God, emotions, people, stimuli. And then it's not until you come home and you're like reflecting on what just happened and you're like, oh my gosh, like I just did that. That is crazy. So it's a little bit of an outer body experience,
Yeah.
but it's awesome. You know, I mean, you're on stage with the best people in the world. It's just wild. Like it's wild. It's crazy. Yeah.
Glad you had a good experience
I did. It was awesome.
because I mean, that's like the big goal for everybody, right?
Absolutely.
And like, was that like the suit that you have on, was that like made for the Olympia? Because I feel like if you're going to the Olympia, it was almost like you'd have to.
No, that's a suit I wore all year.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's good. You just rocked it. And
Yeah, I didn't, you know, that's like I said, I'm not about like suit hopping. I pick a suit, I use it, you know. But yeah, that was the suit I wore all year.
I love it. It looks great with the Olympia background and everything. I know that that's like something you don't really think about all the time with your suit
Mm-hmm.
in the backgrounds, but like
Mm-hmm.
it just pops really nice.
Oh, thanks.
And they like just like compared to this to the like the Toronto Pro, have you had any issues with tan? Because like the tan for the Olympia looks great, but sometimes I've noticed like the Toronto Pro, it gets real that like background makes the tan look way more like
You can't blame the tanning people. It's me. My skin is like mad fickle.
okay.
So it really like I'm mad pale.
Mhm.
So tanning for me, I found that like Liquid Sun Rays is actually like the best company
Okay.
in terms of the tanning that just works with my skin.
Mhm.
It just is. I'm not endorsed by Liquid Sun Rays. I'm just saying from personal experience, their product, the way they do the tanning, the way I'm able to get sprayed works for me because I'm usually the lightest person on stage.
That's
This
really
year I wasn't, but like if you look back at like old photos, like I'm always the lightest person on stage. So
East Coast problems.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and it's frustrating,
Yeah.
because your color is a big part of how you're going to present yourself on stage and how the judges are going to see you. So, um, but it worked out this year. My tan looked great this year, so I was very excited about that. Yeah.
I just noticed that it's not. I've seen a couple people with the Toronto show. I don't know if it's just the backdrop or like what you said with being pale, but yeah, it's just interesting how certain shows. Because even I'm a big fan of going to the Pittsburgh Pro and the Championship show, which I saw that you did one time, and like the lighting there is terrible.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the lighting there.
It's like I don't know what it is with Pittsburgh shows, but I'm not gonna lie, the lighting is just not the best for our state.
North Americans was good.
You know what? It looked pretty good this year since it was in a tent.
I thought North Americans when I did it was good. I liked the lighting there during when I did it. I thought that was good.
I feel like the backdrop helps. It's dark.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because you are right. It's just always been a dark backdrop, which I think just helps the tan overall. But yeah, that's good. I'm glad you brought that up about tan, because I've been noticing that a lot this year. It's just certain people and their tans. It's just, you don't want to mess that up. That's for sure. So do you have any like other like tips for amateurs, like something that you wish you would have known like sooner? I know it's a pretty broad.
Yeah, it's a really, I don't know.
Do you practice posing a lot?
Yes. Yeah, and everyone has a different method to do it. So I would say just make sure you do it. For me, some people like doing it in little chunks. Like some people will do like 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, like whatever throughout the day. I would do it for maybe like 30 to 40 minutes. And then that's it. Like I like to get into it, pose. And after about 30 or 40 minutes, like you're done, like you're done. And when your posing starts getting sloppy, even though you're trying it, like you're done, you need to get off, you need to stop. Another thing that I do for posing is I don't pose in front of a mirror.
Good.
Because there's no mirrors on stage. So what I do is I set up my phone, I record myself, and then I watch myself back. And I see the adjustments I need to make, go back, do it again, watch myself, go back, do it again, watch myself. So you can actually feel those adjustments that you need to make, not see them. Because when you're looking in a mirror, you're not really paying attention to how you feel. You're just not. The vision just kind of dominates the other senses. So I just take that out of the equation and I just record myself, and then that's how I make the adjustments.
That's a really good tip. I like that, because I know I've done it without a mirror, but just the way that you're explaining it's like a mind and muscle connection, just like training.
Absolutely.
Yes. So
and then
what
when
is your training like?
during the transitions and stuff too, like you're like, oh, my hand looks weird there, or like, why am I making that face, or oh, I need to not raise this, or you see all that when you're recorded, like so that's how I do it.
It's true, because I like with the quarter turns, there's one side that I don't like that side that much, and it's just that it's like one of those things you're like, what can I do to make it better? Because sometimes it is really hard when the one side's just perfect and the other side you're just like, what? Why?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Because I know my last show, when I was like in that one position, the side that I didn't like, I was like, that was the side that the judges are holding you on, and I'm like, are you serious? Like, of course it's my bad side. They're probably looking for that flaw. And since you brought up training and the mind-muscle connection, like, what is your training split like right now for, I guess, your prep, or is it the same through off season too?
No, I mean, we change our training program like every 8 weeks. I think I like to switch it up. Right. I'm actually in the middle of trying to build a split. In the off season, I don't like to train as much as during prep. We usually do like 4 or 5 days a week. Okay. Like we won't do more than 5, and we'll even go like a couple weeks just doing like a 4-day split to like really take advantage of like the food, the recovery, resting the joints, resting your CNS, bringing down that inflammation, because when you're in prep, it's like all the time, and you got to kind of like take a step back, slow down, you know what I mean? And then my workouts are better because you're almost like looking forward to them more, because, you're only doing whatever once a week. So like you go in and you just go like nuts. So, that's really what I'm doing right now.
Now, what kind of feedback have you gotten any feedback for this year from the judges?
I have, and it's nothing that I didn't already know. Um, so at least I'll refer to physique because it's
Okay.
the most recent show. So the feedback I got from, one of the judges, I emailed them all, but, I'm lucky I got one back quickly. They said, basically bring up like this whole, like my whole upper body
Mhm.
just needs more like mass and density. So,
Okay.
it's like the upper chest, shoulders, arms, like I know that I'm lacking in this area.
Mhm.
Um, so it wasn't anything that I didn't already know, I mean, and everybody needs a wider back. Like your back could never be too wide.
Yeah.
So it's like when they say like bigger shoulders, wider back, it's like, yeah, me and every other competitor. So it's kind of like you take those things and you're like, all right, yes. And then the more specific details about like the upper chest, you want to bring up your arms. And it's like, yeah, I know that that's where I struggle. When you look, I am, I tend to be bottom dominant with my legs, my glutes. So now that you're doing physique and the posing, you want to make sure that everything's balanced. So I already knew that that's where I need to bring up. So it's, it's reassuring when you get feedback that you're like, yeah, cool, I'm on the same page.
And since it's your chest, or is there like a certain um like focus or like exercise that that's going to help the most bring up your chest?
Work harder.
Work harder. Yeah. Are you doing like, you mean like lifting heavier, more reps sort of thing, or?
Smarter,
Yeah.
heavier, progressive overload, focused intent. You really got to get the mind muscle connection. You got to get the squeeze. You got to engage the muscles that you should be working. If you should be training chest, your shoulders should not be sore the next day. If your shoulders are sore, you're not training your chest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and then you also have to be aware, like now that, I'll be doing arms with more volume, you got to be aware of like that tendonitis, making sure that you're stretching the forearms, getting this forearm strength, watch your wrist, because a lot of things when you're loading certain areas and you're really trying to build up certain areas and you're hitting them so hard, you really have to take care of that area as well, because now they're more prone to injury. But it's kind of like I like the progressive overload, focused intent. Those are just two things that in terms of training and how I progress, that's what I do.
Now, you said you have a really, you have a very good lower half. Now, is that genetic, or did you do a lot of like squats, or what was the go-to exercise for the
I
bottom
actually
half?
don't squat. Like I'm not a big squatter. It
Okay.
just was never like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't like squatting.
I'm not like a huge squatter, because also I don't want to build up my core anymore. So that
Right.
super heavy load,
Mhm.
even when you're wearing a belt, you're still using, your core and your transverse to do those movements. And a lot of times it's like I'm worrying too much about getting down than actually like engaging the muscles.
Yeah.
So I tend to like the hack squat, the reverse V squat, the inverted press, the different leg press variations, goblet squats. I tend to gravitate more towards those type of exercises. Um, but I've always had, I guess you could say genetically, maybe I gain muscle quicker in my lower half than my upper half. So that's predominantly where the dominance came from there. And it's like, it's a struggle for me to build up my upper body. Like I know some women do not do arms and their arms are massive. They
Yeah.
don't do arms and their arms are massive. Like they're just like, yeah, I don't train them. I'm like, WTF,
Yeah.
because
Less is more, something for
I
you.
try and they, it's just going to take time. Just going to take time.
Yes, and it's the thing that I've learned about arms, like especially biceps, is like some girls just have like that softball looking muscle, where mine's like I have a long bicep, so it's not very shapely. It doesn't look like the typical.
Yeah, where the attachments are and how the muscle is. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's all just, some people have it and you're just like, okay.
Do you have do you do any sort of like recovery? Do you get deep tissue or anything that you do regularly?
Yeah, I do the chiropractic. I do the, the sports massage and the Graston and the cupping and all that stuff, as much as possible, because it gets a little pricey.
I
Um,
know.
but, and also like self-care is like really important. I use a roller every day. We got like the massage gun, which is awesome. Been using that a lot. So, you just got to take care of yourself as much as you can, because we beat ourselves up so much.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I've been trying to get into my gun more often, like lay on the floor and just like try to beat it into my low back and stuff. And it's
Yeah.
just, It does help. It's nothing quite like an actual massage person hand digging in you, or I mean, I can't do a scalping tool on my own. That's just too painful. But those are very important, and I feel like it helps with posing, because trying to bring out your lats.
Absolutely. Yep.
It's like I know I always like, just from working on the computer all day, like my chest is just sore all the time, just from just that constant moving. So yeah, I think that's like a huge tip, is getting into the recovery and everything.
Absolutely.
Like that. So is there any like social media like what's your social media so people can follow you?
I'm Mrs. Sullivan. So it's at Mrs. Sullivan. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think, is there an underscore? I don't even know. Let's see.
I was like, I just had yours up. Where did that go? Yeah, and Mrs.
Mrs. underscore Sullivan. Yeah, I do have an underscore. People ask me like, "What's your?" I'm like, I think there's an underscore. I'm not sure.
Well, it's good you're one of the few that don't have IFBB Pro on the end of your IG account.
No, just Mrs. Sullivan.
I mean, basic.
All right. Yeah.
Is there any future plans coming up for you for?
Not this year. I'm done.
You're done? Okay.
This year. Yeah. So we'll probably. I mean, I don't anticipate any shows being scheduled realistically before like May or June. My husband doesn't even think they're going to happen till like midsummer.
Pro shows or just shows in general?
I mean, I'm just talking like generalities, like just shows in general. But even so, I don't plan to compete until the end of the summer.
Yeah.
So, end of summer, beginning of fall. And also it depends if they keep the O in December and extend that qualifying shows. Like, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
That's what I'm assuming they're going to do, but I don't know. So it's kind of like keeping my options open because I don't know.
Are you going to the Olympia to watch or anything? Or yeah, I understand. Yeah.
With the quarantine and stuff, like with my husband and work and having to come back and all that, like he didn't come with me to this past show because he can't, like he was with me in Savannah and Tampa. That was 2 weeks. And then he had to quarantine when he came back. That's another 2 weeks. He's out of the office for a month. I mean, that's insane. Yeah. So yeah. So it's kind of like we can't really travel like we normally do. Like normally we're like, oh, we go around and travel, but not this year.
And I would think that because like the Chicago was the last show to get into the 2020 Olympia. So I feel like, are all the pro shows at this point getting in for next year? Is that what okay. I thought so. And then I'll be curious to see what happens with the Arnold, because I'm actually prepping for the Arnold Amateur. So I'll be curious to see what happens with the Arnold, because I don't think that there will be an expo, but I'm hoping that they still try to put on the show like they did this year, where it's just on video.
And that's going to depend on the state.
Right. And Ohio.
You know what I mean? Like that's going to depend on the state and what happens this winter in each state, which is why I'm like, I'm not even going to try. Like I give you a lot of credit because that's a big question mark for you.
Yeah. And that's a first show of the season. Like the Arnold.
In the beginning of March. It's like March, 4th or something like that?
March 4th will be for amateurs. Yeah. And I mean, and that's an invite only. So I don't know when they start asking invite people, or for the pros, their invite, or what's going to happen, because I wonder how many people they think will want to go.
Well, you have to also remember they just moved the Olympia to like Christmas.
Yeah. And
a lot of the people that do the Olympia also do the Arnold. So, I mean, that's like, there's no break. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, if you're doing the O and then you're also planning on doing the Arnold, there's just no break.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Where normally the O is in September.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. We'll just have to see what happens.
Yeah. And I think for me, I guess there's always a plan B. I feel like at this point, it's always good to have a plan B show. So I'm hoping the Pittsburgh champion, because they got canceled last year, the Pittsburgh Pro and Championship show. So there's always even though we talked about the lighting being crappy, but we'll see. Because you're right, it's up in the air, and I'm glad that you got some good shows this year. That's great, because I'm really iffy.
Really stoked that I was able to compete 3 times this year. Like really happy, because it's the year of the COVID. It's freaking crazy.
I know, and like you said, you had a great experience.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if there were audiences at all of those shows. I know I watched in New York on the
Yes.
live stream, but New York probably only had like close family and friends.
The audience was filled in
Okay.
Chicago, Hotlanta. They had it all spread out, like everything was spread out, but they had like a full audience, so it was good.
Yeah, and that's been interesting that they've just been, Atlanta and Florida, they're just like cramming the shows down there, and then for you guys, it's like,
they're the only places allowing them.
yeah,
So,
right. And
like,
then even nationals, it's like, well, they're gonna have nationals again in Charleston for Team U, and then I guess like Las Vegas is still gonna have USAs or whatever. So, hey, just have them where you can have them, I guess.
Yeah.
So is there any companies that you're like sponsored with that you want to give a shout out to?
I am not sponsored by anybody.
Oh, it's hard these days, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I don't mind, like I work for me, I do my personal training, I do the online coaching, I do like prep coaching, I do all that stuff. So, I'm okay.
I understand, because I know everybody wants to get sponsored and everything, but I always feel bad because like I don't take supplements except for like the vitamins and stuff like that. But I'm not a big pre-workout person. I don't do protein powders. It's food.
Mm-hmm.
So unless a grocery store wants to start helping people out and bodybuilders, I don't think I'm going to be promoting much of that sort. So I do like to end my show also with, I'd like to see when's your birthday?
March 13th.
March 13th. Oh, are you a Pisces?
I am a Pisces.
Oh, man. You're a little bit more talkative for a Pisces than I thought.
I don't believe in any of that astrological nonsense. Like, people are who they are. I mean, whatever. Like, if you want to try to find traits that match, sure, then you probably will. But yeah, no. I don't think if you look at like the Pisces and what I'm supposed to be,
right. You're like, because that's the thing. Pisces is like, you're more quiet. And
they're supposed to be like all like emotional and no.
You're just like,
not me at all. No. I have like the emotional spectrum of like a walnut, so it's true.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. I feel like
this is fun.
A pro. I mean, that is always awesome. It's nice to see how you feel, how things are going on, and with everything in COVID, it's like
for sure,
different world out there. And since you were competing and did well, that's another highlight. So I'm wishing you luck. I hope.
Thank you very much.
See you again on the stage for 2021. But enjoy yourself.
Thanks. You too, and good luck with the prep. And I'll be following you, so we'll see. Like, I feel like by January, February, we'll kind of like have a sense of what they're actually planning to do, right?
Yeah, like I'm not even going to try to start planning hotels and that kind of stuff just yet, because everybody's like, how the Arnold people with the expo, they were always like, let's get a hotel like a year in advance. And I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Like, are they even going to hold it there?
Right. Yeah, because like Ohio is not doing good right now.
Like, I don't know. So maybe that'll be in Orlando too. Like, who knows? So,
yeah. We'll see. That's all we can do. I mean, but I know a lot of you guys prepped through quarantine. So, hey, I guess I'll try and see what happens.
Yeah, you can do it. You'll be fine.
All righty, girl. Well, thanks. Have a great weekend and everything. And I'll have this uploaded tomorrow.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye.